You can talk about it and the lack of faith. It's selfishness, which automatically is going to produce the lack of faith. There's no faith there. Because if there was faith there, you would believe God to provide everything else that you needed if you paid your tithe. Okay? So, but look at this. Before it was commanded, those two, Abram and who was that I just said? Just talked about. Jacob. Abram and Jacob did what they did. They gave 1/10 because they wanted to. See, that kind of God love, when you are just in love with God and want to just please God, you do it because you make the decision that this is what I want to do. So the commandment had not even come yet. All right, so let's look. My voice is gone from today. Sorry, y'all. What did I say? Deuteronomy 14
22.
and 22. All right. Let's see what it says here. Thou shalt truly tithe. Well, let me read a little bit above that.
What is it? Deuteronomy 14. 22.
14 and 22, but I'm going to read 21.
Anybody else to read it since you...
Yeah, you can read it.
Because you are a people holy to God, your God, don't eat anything that you find dead. You can, though, give it to a foreigner in your neighborhood for a meal or sell it to a foreigner. Don't boil a kid in its mother's milk. Make an offering of 10%, a tithe of all the produce which grows in your fields year after year. Bring this into the presence of God, your God, at the place he designates for worship. And there eat the tithes from your grain, wine, and oil, and the firstborn from your herds and flocks. In this way, you will learn to live. It's still 23. Keep going. Keep going.
No. Well, no. Keep on going.
In this way, you will learn to live in deep reverence before God, your God, as long as you live. But if the place God, your God, designates for worship is too far away and you can't carry your tithe that far, God, your God, will still bless you. Exchange your tithe for money and take the money to the place God, your God, has chosen to be worshipped.
Okay, that's good right there, because now the word of the Lord has even translated it or transformed it from the grains and the flocks into money. But the bottom line, he says, do what? Bring it.
Whatever
bring
you make.
Whatever you bring your 10th. Whatever you're making, bring a 10th. Now, back then, they were doing tithes because, everything was so far apart. They did those things by the year. But we're in a different culture, so we don't apply that to our culture. That was a whole different culture a long time ago. Well, talking about the commandment. Now, that was a commandment. That's when the commandment, when God gathered his people after, now watch this, after the 12 tribes of Jacob, Israel, came about, the people expanded. They kept on growing. There was 12 sons there that got wives, and then they had children, and then they even had concubines, and then they had more children and children. So the children of Israel became more and more and more, and they started spreading out. And so now he's telling them, I'm not going to leave it, Jacob, to you to just have the desire to make the vow. Now I'm going to make a command for all of the children of Israel to follow that you even helped follow the steps of Abram to give your tithe. Now I'm going to make a commandment for all of the children so that they can all begin to see the blessing it is in giving your tithe. So then we move all the way over to Malachi. And that's the one that most people, when you start talking about tithe, that's the first scripture that comes to their mind, because that's the one that all churches use to talk about tithe. But I hope that you can see in those previous scriptures that tithe began long before Malachi 3. All right, third chapter. Woo.
Verse.
And I want to start. At the 7th verse. And it says, even from the days of your fathers, ye are gone away from mine ordinances, and have not kept them. Return unto me, and I will return unto you, said the Lord of hosts. But ye said, wherein shall we return? Will a man rob God? That's the question. Yet ye have robbed me. But then you say, wherein have we robbed thee? And here comes the answer. In tithes and offerings. Now, here's the penalty for robbing God. And all of this is coming to the children of Israel because of their disobedience. And he began to tell them, you are cursed with a curse, for ye have robbed me. There's so many people sitting in church and can't understand why they cannot get totally ahead, and they know they're not. But some people just don't. They're so caught up in what is the preacher doing with the money? What is the church doing with the money? And I prefaced all of that with the fact that what the church is doing with the money, what the preachers is doing with the money, really is not your concern as long as you are obeying God. But if you discover that there's some fraudulent things going on, or people are doing something and the church is going unrepaired and not dealt with, and people that are, because later on in the New Testament we're going to find, well, later on in the same verse, we're going to find out what's supposed to be happening with these tithes. There is a reason for giving your tithe. And I like to try to say, not paying your tithe. You can't pay God. God don't want your money. He don't need your money. But it is a process of obedience.
Yeah.
A process that helps you deal with your obedience to what God has said. God said, here it is. Verse 10. This is what he said. Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse. Now, remember we read over in Deuteronomy that the storehouse was wherever the Lord had designated for that place to be, for them to bring their grain and to bring all of their flocks. There was a purpose for that. And even in the New Testament, we'll see something if we get there tonight. He said, bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse. Why? Here's why. That there may be meat in mine house. What for? There would be provisions for others. Remember, I keep saying, even your giving of your offerings, giving of tithes, is a selfless act. Selfish people will never adhere to being faithful to this process. But when you start giving your tithes and with an understanding of what you need to have tithes and offerings for, you'll understand it ain't about for you. You're bringing it to the storehouse so that the storehouse can make provision for whatever is needed. He said, now if you will do it, you can prove me now herewith, said the Lord of hosts. See, won't I open you the windows of heaven? There's the promise. If you will be obedient and bring all your tenth along with your offering. See, and a lot of people don't even talk about that. Well, he didn't say offerings right here, but offerings is in here in the New Testament. Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in mine house, and prove me now herewith, said the Lord of hosts, if I will not open you the windows, not just one window of heaven.
Yeah.
He said the windows of heaven. My God. If you be faithful to it, that means faithful in the plenteous times, faithful in the lean time, faithful when you know you ain't got enough to pay your bills, but you're faithful to your. He said, watch, won't I pull you out, open up the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing that there shall not be room enough to receive it. Here's the next part that people don't hear about tithes, because that's one promise. But here's another promise in the 11th verse. He said, I will rebuke the devourer for your sakes. When your stuff comes up short and you ain't got enough to take care of it, and you look like the hellhounds are on your heels. He said, I will rebuke the devourers, those that are coming to try to snatch up what you got left after you paid your tithe. He said, I'll rebuke the devourers for your sake. He said, and he shall not destroy the fruits of your ground, neither shall your vine cast her fruit before the time in the field, said the Lord of hosts.
Okay. For those that don't understand the King James speak,
all right,
can we read
it from another version?
Yeah,
yes, read it out good and
pretty
loud.
plain. Starting from verse 7. You have a long history of ignoring my commands. You haven't done a thing I've told you. Return to me.
Read it slow.
Return to me so I can return to you, says God of the angel armies. You ask, but how?
Stop right there. That means that sounds like that's saying that because of your disobedience, I've drawn away from you. Because he said, you return to me. If you return to me, start being obedient again, I'll come on back to you. Good.
You ask, but how do we return? Begin by being honest. Do honest people rob God? But you rob me day after day. You ask, how have we robbed you? The tithe and the offering, that's how. And now you're under a curse, the whole lot of you, because you're robbing me. Bring your full tithe to the temple treasury, so there will be ample provisions in my temple. Test me in this and see if I don't open up heaven itself to you and pour out blessings beyond your wildest dreams. For my part, I will defend you against marauders. Protect your wheat fields and vegetable gardens against plunderers. The message of God of the angel armies.
My God. Now that's the commandment, to bring ye all the tithes and offerings into the storehouse. And then he said, God promised a blessing to everybody who would tithe. Then he also promised a curse to anybody that wouldn't. Now sometimes you become very faithful in your tithing, and sometimes you don't even see the blessings that God is giving you, because things just seem to be so smooth until you stop paying your tithe. You stop giving your tithe. Then when you stop giving your tithe, it might be a minute before you see anything, and then all of a sudden, oh my goodness, look like everything just starts plummeting away. What should that do? It ought not to discourage you and make you decide that I knew I shouldn't have been giving no tithe. No, that ought to encourage you to stay on the trail of giving tithes and offerings. Well, let's go over to the New Testament.